So Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Mayor Pete, he quit out last night. And then I hear a senator from a state, we're going to win. We're going to win that state. But she dropped out. Sounds like they made a deal, you know. They both supported Sleepy Joe. You know why? They made a deal. You know why? Quid pro quo. That's why. No good. Quid pro quo. Quid pro quo. They made a deal. Impeach them. They should be impeached. They should be impeached. Quid pro quo.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we take a look at all the latest breaking news, and we have to ask the question that the mainstream media won't ask. Is President Trump the head of a counterinsurgency effort to remove the deep state who tried to run a coup against a duly elected president to remove him from power and install themselves from the permanent bureaucracy into authoritarian positions of control and dominance over this country? So we're going to take a deep dive into that and a whole lot more. You guys are going to stick around and check it out. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig, and you guys know the drill. I say thank you if you've hit that subscribe button. If you haven't done it, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, and make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and then hit the all button so you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. Today, we pick up right where we left off. We left off at Q Post 3890 on February 25th, 2020. And the last post we had says Godspeed with this picture here, talking specifically about stuff that we talked about in the last episode. We discussed the flag and how it is playing a very big role, I think, in the events that we're seeing today, and that's why Q's been referencing it throughout the entire process of us getting this information. I'm still working on other stories that are going to come out, hopefully in the near future, about that flag and about what we're engaged in more globally, giving us a better idea of what President Trump's up against. But we'll get into that at a later time. For this episode, we're going to talk about the deep state coup plotters and how they're all endorsing and backing Joe Biden. We're going to take a look at some interesting things surrounding all of that. Then we're going to talk about a few other news stories. But at the end of the episode here, I'm going to wrap it up by giving you a compilation of different speeches President Trump has been giving lately. I've been watching them all. I've been collecting the highlights from a lot of these speeches and putting them together for you guys to watch, because it's a lot of content to digest. I mean, I try to watch all the speeches, but sometimes they come in such rapid succession as we're seeing now that it's good to kind of have somebody to take the time to watch them, consolidate it, and put it together. So that's what I've done for you in this episode. I hope you enjoy that. That'll be near the end of the episode, and we'll just jump right into what we're going to start with today, which is this story coming out of the Gateway Pundit. Now, this is written by Joe Hoft, Gateway Pundit, March 3rd, 2020, talking about former Governor Blagojevich, Rod Blagojevich, the man whose sentence was, I think it was commuted, or he was basically pardoned by President Trump and was able to leave prison early after serving, I believe it was 8 years of a 14-year sentence that he got for supposedly trying to sell then former Senator, then President Barack Obama's seat, his seat as a senator in Illinois. Now, regardless of what you think about Blagojevich and what he did or didn't do, the point of this story is very interesting when you read through it, right? So it's saying he can get the truth out about certain things. Now, what is he talking about? I want to read this part of the piece to you because I think it's very important. It says, the Mueller-Comey gang committed their crimes by projecting the crimes of those they protected, i.e. Obama or Hillary, onto chosen target, i.e. Governor Blago or President Trump. It says Blago's case is not unique. In 2008, Obama had a history of receiving bribes and favors from, and this is according to this article here, Joe Hoft, Gateway Pundit, bribes and favors from convicted felon Tony Rezko. Rezko's partner, Saddam Hussein bagman Nadmi Achi, and former Chicago cop Daniel T. Frawley, who claimed in an email to have passed $400,000 cash in cash bribes through Resco to Obama. In order to divert attention from Obama's criminal dealings with Resco and Fauci, FBI Director Mueller opened an investigation into Resco's dealings with Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich and simultaneously swept Obama's crimes under the rug. The 5-year investigation of Blago came to an abrupt end when the Justice Department leaked information to the Chicago Tribune in order to avoid having to arrest Obama's presidential election campaign co-chairman, Jesse Jackson, for trying to buy Obama's Senate seat. Then Blago was arrested and Jackson was not. So after that, it talks about how Blagojevich faced criminal prosecution while Obama moved on to become president, but that is endemic of what we've been uncovering from day one with this corrupt system, right? And that's what President Trump's been working against. And I believe that with the help of many patriots across all the different branches of government and across all of the different, military service branches, etc., have come together to help to stand up against this, right? Because what world do you want to live in where your leaders are held to a different standard of morals and ethics and constitutional obligations than you because they're in a privileged class where we have this two-tiered justice system? Is that the world you want to live in? Or do you want to live in a world where there is a single equality in the law and that justice is for all, not just for some, and not for those who can have the right connections or influence or pay for whatever they need to? Because that's when you start going toward what we see that the whole society moving toward as a whole with this socialism idea, communism. That's what the communist Chinese do. I mean, really in China, there's such a high conviction rate because you either know somebody or you don't. You either are a part of the Communist Party or you are not. And if you are not, then you are not as high of a priority to the state. Therefore, you are expendable. You are, as they would say, sheep or whatever. That's what they try to paint everyone as, that they want to control. And this is just one example. I think somebody should keep digging a little deeper on all this because it's, Rod Blagojevich, former governor, can come forward and shed a lot of light on this if he has information. So that's something to be considered. Now, of course, this is the stories that came out today with Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg dropping out right before Super Tuesday and endorsing, of course, Joe Biden. It started the domino effect here where we have Comey, we have Brennan, we have Samantha Powers, we have Susan Rice, all coming out, and you guessed it, endorsing Joe Biden. Now, why are they endorsing Joe Biden? It's fairly obvious. President Trump's been doing something that Q alluded to, right, previously in these posts, where Q gave us that link to the document which showed us this whole counterinsurgency guide, right, that was basically put into effect by I believe it was the Bush administration just before, like a week before President Obama took over office, right? And Q basically says when he gave us this, look, to quote from a passage inside there, it says, quote, "Insurgency is the organized use of subversion and violence to seize, nullify, or challenge political control of a region." It says the presidency of Barack Hussein Obama began at noon Eastern on January 20, 2009, when Obama was inaugurated as the 44th president of the United States. What country was the true intended target? Q. So think about it this way. The question that Q poses to us really has to do with what was happening behind the scenes when people like this were coming into positions of power, and there had to have been factions inside of our government that were actively aware of what was happening. And it seems as though there's been a plan in place to try to either a power struggle, if you will, that's continuously been happening behind the scenes, that's out of the view of the public, that seems to be centered around these people who have been selling power and influence because they see it as, either a part of being in business as the United States representatives, or they, just have no regard for the law or whatever it is, right? They have their own justifications. But at the same time, President Trump stood up in opposition to that, saying, no, we're not going to sell our positions of power. We're not going to help funnel state secrets through private servers. We're not going to facilitate heinous crimes globally like human trafficking, etc. We're not going to allow people to enrich themselves off of those practices. And if anything, we're going to stand up globally and say we will act as a positive force against those kinds of things, corruption and the rest. And in doing so, broke an entire system that's been in the making for decades. I think if you look back, we've had previous leaders who've tried to warn us about this. Go back to like President Eisenhower and what he said about the military-industrial complex and how we were up against this. And then JFK saying we're up against a ruthless monolithic conspiracy. I mean, this is, and then he says, you know, people who work to get things through covert means. You have to remember, they knew this deep state existed. They've known the whole time. It's just a matter of getting the right people in the right places to finally be able to stand up against it. Not to mention the fact, like I said before, we may be talking about other stories that have to do with it. But look, they all fall in lockstep. John Brennan, of course, coming out and saying Joe Biden's honest, decent, practical, experienced individual. Yeah, okay, there you go. Samantha Power coming out with her endorsement, which is kind of like a half endorsement. She's like, I like Elizabeth Warren, I like Bloomberg, but I voted for Biden. You know why? Because I need to be back in power so I don't possibly get in trouble for things I may or may not have done. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. James Comey, of course, coming out saying he's rooting for Joe Biden. Why wouldn't he? And Susan Rice, you know, a very emotional tweet here, it seems, where she's being embraced after a very devastating loss of her mother. And okay, all right, there you go. Not to mention he's got Beto O'Joke, as I like to call him, not out here saying that Joe Biden's like, if I'm elected, Beto's going to run my gun control. Yeah. Perfect. I really hope you get to run, because I just don't think they understand how much they're going to get destroyed in the general election with the kind of people that they're bringing into the party as far as the upper leadership goes. It's insane. But they know it's insane. It's all about cognitive dissonance and whatever other psychological methods and tactics they're using to try to manipulate the masses and use the fake news media to propagate their ruthless monolithic conspiracy, whatever you want to call it. And then, of course, another story here, Denver Democrat facing backlash after a solidarity tweet for spreading coronavirus at Trump rallies. Now, this is just rallies. This is disgusting. I only highlight this to, I'm not even going to give the person who said it any attention, other than I think that people who do this kind of stuff have to, apologize publicly. And they should probably have a stern talking to from some sort of governmental agency if you're going to basically promote what is, amounts to a terrorist action against Trump supporters in the United States. I mean, the tweet basically was like, I'm in solidarity. I'm just paraphrasing what the tweet was saying, saying that they were for people going to a Trump rally to purposely infect innocent Americans. Now, I may disagree with you politically, but I don't wish for these people to be, given viruses. I mean, this is the kind of dangerous rhetoric that this person, apparently, the Denver person, I think may have been a socialist or even a communist at that. And when you think about the absurdity of all of this, you have to ask yourself, what are we going to see moving into the future? So I don't know. You'll have to tell me as soon as we all know. Maybe we'll be able to figure this out. But with that being said, of course, President Trump suing the Washington Post now for another, example of them printing and publishing defamatory comments against the President of the United States. And you have to understand that with this, it's a tough thing to prove in court, because you have to prove that they lied with the purpose of maliciously hurting President Trump. And that they did it, basically in a way that conforms with the way the law is written. But if you think about it, where we are at now is we can identify things as being fake news, but at the end of the day, they print and move with these actions, and it seems that they're going to be held accountable. That's why I'm very careful about what I say on this channel, because I try not to say anything other than to ask the questions that we, the people, have the right to ask, And that's really what this all comes down to, is they make these accusatory statements, and they make them with the expressed intent, purpose of damaging, it seems, as this would allege in this complaint, President Trump's ability, to be the president of the United States, to run for president, whatever you want to call it. I just think that ultimately we have to keep an eye on this, and we have to remember that President Trump has the right to, call out people who just write defamatory things. I mean, and it gives us all hope as people who have had the fake news write lies about us and try to malign us. And then you don't know if it's for malicious or if it's just for they don't like your ideas. Whatever it is intended in this complaint, as it's alleged by the president's legal team, to damage President Trump and defame him, I should say. So, look, you tell me what you think down in the comments below. But another one here is the divided Supreme Court rules illegal immigrants can't be shielded from ID theft prosecution, which thankfully, I mean, the absurdity of some of the things they argue for with regard to people who are here illegally's rights are beyond absurd. This is just one example of the Supreme Court having to step in and basically issue a ruling that seems to be common sense, but I guess not if you're, if you live in whatever fantasy world I think the Democrats have wandered into our existence from. And finally, Reuters reporting that there are at least 9 people dead in Seattle from this coronavirus. And let me tell you what, a lot of people say the coronavirus has been here for a while. A lot of people say it's a flu. Some people say it's a super weapon. I can't tell you. I'm not a doctor, and the evidence still is not clear enough to say one way or another what it is or is not. But, or actually a lot of it you can say to a degree what it is not, but they still haven't narrowed it down exactly to what it is other than a virus. I saw, though, one of the things I'm going to show you here in this cut together of President Trump's latest speeches and meetings that he did is a talk here with the pharmaceutical executives and from all the leading companies around the world saying, can we create a treatment for this? Well, do we need a vaccine? And President Trump's like, well, do we really need a vaccine? Can we at least start with just a cure? And they're like, how long does that take? And it seems like maybe a few months. So I don't know. It doesn't seem to me as though this virus has happened by accident, though. It just doesn't feel that way to me. And I can also tell you that, the way it's spread and the way that it was used as an excuse to limit and restrict travel and to shut down entire, countries and millions of people, provinces, I should say, of China. I think there's something else here, and that it's being used for a very specific reason. And President Trump is quite aware that it can be stopped. I just don't know every detail behind why it's chosen for this particular time, other than it was an interesting thing to point to, where we looked at last episode about how, there were so many examples of right around an election, a major viral outbreak going global. So, and then the freaking out by the fake news. So that's up to you to look at for yourself. But I'm going to leave you there, and then we'll watch some of these cut together clips from President Trump's rally, and then we'll sign off. So thanks for watching, and enjoy this compilation of Trump and his latest speeches.
A big favor, but that's all right. It's all working out very well. But we took out al-Baghdadi, who everybody was after. You'd see him all the time speaking with a fan. That was an old picture. He was young, he got older. But they were looking for him for 16 years. And one of the first things I said when I came in is, you got to find this guy, al-Baghdadi. Yes, sir. All of a sudden they walk in. They said, we have him, sir. We're following him all over the Middle East. He'd move from place to place to place. We're following him, sir. And then they said, sir, we have him. And I had to give an order, and I gave an order. And I'll tell you what, 66, the most incredible soldiers you've ever seen. They went in on 8 helicopters. And in modern-day warfare, you can watch. I mean, I'm watching it. I'm watching it from the Situation Room. You believe it? It was like, you can't make a movie like this. For instance, there's no dog like Conan. No dog. There's no dog like Conan, right? In fact, Conan, after the operation, was a tremendous success. I mean, they were looking for him for a long time. And it was a lot of violent fighting, and then ultimately we got him. He was in a tunnel, at the end of a tunnel, and Conan was going after him. Conan almost was electrocuted, you know that story, but the guys went after him, and we got him. But you wouldn't believe how great it felt. And when you saw the professionalism of these soldiers, I can't even tell you. There's nobody has a military like we have. There's nobody with the talent that we have. It's incredible. They got him, and he knew it. He knew it. He knew it. As soon as he heard that first little explosion that took him about 3 seconds, that blew the hell out of the wall, I said, why don't they go through the front door? He said, sir, you go through the front door, you got a lot of bullets coming at you. They went through a solid concrete wall. They put stuff up, boom, so fast. So now they're shooting the other guys from behind. That's much better, right? Guys that said, who's that? Who's that? Guys were unbelievable. You don't have a movie like that. And Conan was given more press than your president. I'm telling you. It was like about a half a day story. Somebody else would have done it, it would have been the greatest thing ever happened. But that's all right, I do it for a different reason. I do it because we have to keep ourselves safe. I do it also for all of the people that they killed and wounded.
Realistic to think, really, that a vaccine could be ready?
Well, you have the greatest companies in the world sitting around the table. I mean, Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer and all of the companies, Gilead. You have all of these great companies, and that's what they're saying. So I think that...
Would you make sure you get the president the information that a vaccine that you make and start testing in a year is not a vaccine that's deployable. So he's asking the question, when is it going to be deployable? And that is going to be at the earliest a year to a year and a half, no matter how fast you go.
I think that's right.
And as you said, when the treatment should be available before the vaccine. So that's why you...
Well, I think treatment in many ways might be more exciting. Okay.
That's what I think. That's what I think. Ambassador Birx, I think, laid out a really nice framework as we think about managing expectations, which is be thinking antiviral therapeutics, transitioning to monoclonal antibodies, and eventually to vaccines as we think about the continuum of research and development here. Is that fair for our CEOs?
Yes. Well, you know, I think, Tony, I think that's interesting because the concept of treatment in a certain way, especially when you have people that are looking for treatment, they've already got, they're beyond the vaccine stage, that would be very exciting.
And it always goes faster than vaccine because you're dealing with someone who's already sick. So the safety issues are going to be much, much different. And you will know your result almost immediately, whereas with vaccines it takes a long time.
So then, what would be your timing for treatment? Therapeutics, commonly known as, I call it treatment. What would be your number for treatment?
For us, we can think about producing 20,000 doses by the end of the summer of a course of treatment. And as Dr. Fauci said, you're going to find out very quickly. It's not going to be a mystery whether these things work or not. We're pretty confident that ours is the monoclonal antibody approach. We think that that approach has a very high probability in the near term of delivery.
Fantastic.
So
treatment, I mean, just for the media, so the treatment element of it goes faster than the vaccine element of it, which, in my opinion, in this case, would be better. Go ahead, please. At stake in our present battle is the actual survival of our nation. I really believe that. It's the survival. You see these maniacs that we're dealing with. They want to give away everything. We will end up being Venezuela, large-scale version. If you want your children to inherit the blessings that generations of Americans have fought and died for to secure, then we must devote everything we have towards victory in November of 2020, November 3rd to be exact. Only this way can we save the America we love and drain the swamp. I never thought it was this deep. Man. I talked about a swamp. You never told me it was this bad, fellas. That swamp is bad. You got dirty cops at the top of the FBI. You got a lot of dirty people. But you also have phenomenal people in the FBI and other places. But we're draining that swamp. I never knew it was going to be this dirty, and we're getting a lot of help from a lot of great people.
Now he runs for president, now all of a sudden he's erased. How is that? Y'all know that's a lie.
It
Y'all
is
need
a
to
lie.
stop that.
And
I'm
Bruce,
so
he's
tired.
not colorblind. He can see.
Alvita, I know that.
He loves us.
I know
but
that.
hey, color is good,
you
not
know
bad.
why?
He can see Jesus gives sight to the
Because he
blind.
loves God and he loves Christ, and
Yeah.
that is through him.
Whew.
And y'all know what I'm talking about. Don't be afraid to say it.
That's right. All right. All right.
I'm tired. It irks me. It irks me when you call this man a rape. My skin crawls right now.
I know that's
I'm tired of it.
Me too.
My leg hurts. I got a new knee. I don't feel good.
There it is. There it is. All right, we
I'm
see
hurting.
it. We see it. Lead the president.
You attack him.
You attack.
You attack all. And I'm tired.
We all are.
We all tired.
So there you go. I hope you liked that cut together of President Trump's latest speeches and videos, and there'll be more to come of that in the future. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Leave your thoughts, theories, and insights. I'd love to hear what you guys think about everything that we talked about here on this episode. So watch these last few episodes as well and get caught up on where we are at. And if you don't know what QAnon is, watch this video right here. Also, be brave. For free right now, you can use the link in the description of this video to download the Brave browser, which is a better internet browser. It's better than Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer, whatever you're using right now, it's better. And you can download it for free using the link in the description. And it'll make a contribution to this channel when you download it, install it, and run it on your computer. And I guarantee you're going to love this product. They have all these great integrations, a VPN built into the browser. They have a Tor browser that comes with it. And there is a integration now they're doing with the Internet Wayback Machine, which is just going to make this a great product all around. Did I mention that it blocks the ads? Yes, it is a great browser. So go use the link in the description right now. Download the Brave browser, and I guarantee you guys are going to like it. I think it's a great product, and I know you guys will too. Also, don't forget to come find me on Twitter at JustinFormedYou. Great way we can connect outside the channel. And of course, there's JustinFormedNews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. And you can get the videos here from the latest videos and everything else. Also have a backup channel here on BitChute. That's BitChute.com/JustInformedTalk. Now, a couple other ways you can help out the channel are both financial. You can come over here and find me on Patreon, Patreon.com. You guys are what keep this channel going. Your support is really what keeps me able to go against all of the demonetization. Like I said, I think before, it's been a long time since I've had commercials run on my videos at YouTube, but it doesn't matter because you guys have basically made it possible for me to do this full time. So I thank you for your help and support. I also have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, links to everything we've talked about, including all of the articles, tweets, etc., will be in the description below. So with that, we do a segment at the end. Each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater, because that's what's most important in all of this. And I know that because, sometimes it's hard, to have to get up every day and to read through the news, watch all the information, see, all of these tragic things. And at the same time, it always gives me hope to look at the struggles that we know we're going to go through as Christians, and to understand what the kingdom of heaven really is, and how it's got these incredible gifts in store for us with our eternal salvation that was bought and paid for by the sacrifice of Christ on the cross for our sins. So I want to share this with you. It's out of the book of Matthew. It's the parable of the hidden treasure and of the priceless pearl. And it's 13:44-45, or 13:44 through 46. It says, "The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure buried in a field that a man found and reburied. Then in his joy he goes and sells everything he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls. When he found one priceless pearl, he went and sold everything he had and bought it." So why do I share that parable? Because it reminds me in my heart that there's a way that we have to go about this as Christians to understand the kingdom of heaven and what it really is, and what it takes to not only understand it, but how to get there. And it's like what this parable says, in how there was a man who was digging through a field. He found a treasure, but he didn't own that field. And so it took the integrity and righteousness for him to place that treasure back, right? To give it up and then go and put everything he had into it, right? By selling all of his possessions and coming back and buying that field so he could have that gift. And that's how we have to look at Christ and our salvation, is that it's not easy to put everything on the line for Christ, but that's what we're called to do. And if we do that, then that treasure, the kingdom of heaven, is ours. And just remember that. I mean, I pray for all of us together that we can find that kingdom of heaven that is awaiting us. And I know that if we just keep our faith in the Lord Jesus and remind and do unto others and be there for one another and live a righteous life and just continue to give back to God first and foremost, and then we'll be all right. We'll be fine. We just have to live with that mentality and remember that all this evil and sick, sad things that are happening around the world, that we can overcome it by putting our faith in God, because our eternal salvation is what matters more than anything else. So share that with your friends and families and loved ones. And I thought that was a good verse to end it on. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I want to say thank you for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. Remember to come here, hit the subscribe button if you haven't, and hit that like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. But that's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.